Hello, guys. Welcome to Rex Arthur TV. This is a Rex Arthur show, and where we discuss LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ perspective and a humanistic approach. And today we are going to be focusing on what is called antisexualism and sex negativity. This arose when I've been having some thoughts about positive and negative, and in terms of sexuality. Of course, very many people live in a dualistic world. What I mean by dualistic, they think it's either you're positive or you're negative. And they forget we are actually in a non-dualistic world, because we also have neutral. Remember, even in electricity, it is we have the earth and the live and the neutral. So there are three main sources of power in electricity, and charges in electricity. And even in life, there is positive, there is negative, and there is neutral. So, like, when you are looking for something or liking something, one person will like that thing, so he's positive about it. Another person will not like that thing, so he's negative about it. Another person will neither like it nor dislike it, so he's neutral about it. And that is non-duality. And so you'll find some people have. That's why antisexuality is sex negativity, because you are against sex. And when you say sex, that includes homosexuality. There's this biased thinking. People think that sex is only heterosexual, and that's not true. Sex is both heterosexual and homosexual, and even includes other forms of sex. Bestiality is sex. Yes, having sex with an animal is sex, because a human being can penetrate. It can penetrate an animal. There are religions and cultures in the world that allow penetration of animals. A human penetrating an animal, it's possible. So other countries are negative about bestiality, very many countries. But few countries and cultures are positive about bestiality. And this is the same with heterosexuality. It is actually heterosexuality someone can be negative about heterosexuality, and we're going to find this in this antisexualism. This is what you call antisexualism. At the same time, you can also be negative about homosexuality. And if you're negative of any form of sex, you are an antisexual in that sexual system. And like if it's homosexuality and negative about it, means you are negative to it. And then you are in the heterosexual system. And just because you like a form of sex doesn't mean you have to even practice it. So there's a lot of language is a very dicey area to deal with, and you have to take it very calmly, and know when you're talking to people. Some people do not have the understanding. They don't even have the understanding about sex in their because of their vocabulary. So. And you can see there's antisexism. Antisexism is different from antisexuality. So let's go through antisexualism. Antisexualism is opposition or hostility towards sexual behavior and sexuality. So if you oppose any form of sex, or if you oppose sexual behavior, or if you are hostile towards sexual behavior, you are antisexual. Now, go on. Other terms whose meanings overlap or are synonymous or interchangeable with antisexualism include sex negativism, sex negative movement, sex negativity, antisexuality, demonization of sex, or as an adjective, anti-sex or sex negative. In a broader scope, it may refer to a general opposition to sexuality, especially tending to reduce or eliminate the sex drive or sexual activity. Now let's stop there. They are saying that apart from opposing sexuality, it can also mean to reduce or eliminate sex drive activity. Now, there are people who are antisexual. That is their choice. What is bad is when an antisexual forces you to also be antisexual. That is what is wrong. That is what is wrong. You do not force somebody to be something that you are. You let somebody be what he wants to be. And some people are, they want to eliminate the sex drive. And we would go through that later on. Or a prudish or coitophobic force in society that suppress sexual freedom and disseminate antisexual opinions. And so what is happening is there in the society, antisexuality also includes people who suppress sexual freedom. These are the people who say no more prostitutes, no more sex workers, no more polyamorous relationships, no more sex, no more, all of these that is what you call antisexual. And when such an aversion involves hatred, it's sometimes termed miserotia or miserotism. Now, what does this mean? Hatred or fear, actually hatred of eroticism. When somebody sees people kissing, they get angry and they say this is bad. When they see porn, they react and they don't get happy. And they don't want to do sex, or they don't want to look at anything that involves sex. So this is misoretia or misoretism. Now, let's go to religious antisexuality. Some forms of early ascetic Gnosticism held all matter to be evil, and that unnecessary gratifications of the physical senses were to be avoided. You see, another thing you need to understand about life and philosophy and theology, it is so diverse. Anything can be called evil. At the same time, anything can be called good. At the same time, some things can be called evil, and some things can be called good. At the same time, some things, the things that are being called evil, one day they will also then make, a few years later, they will be called good. And the thing that was good a few years back, a few years later is called evil. That is the society we live in. We are always changing views. And sometimes there are some views that stay. There are views that stay forever. Now, in this church, the Gnostics, they believed all matter was evil, and that unnecessary gratifications of the physical senses were to be avoided. You know, these are people who, they even wear blinders. They don't want to see anything. They don't want to see anything. They don't want to see anything sex. That was the rule in this Gnostic church. You are married, but you are encouraged to be chaste. You are encouraged. And it was not necessarily an obligation, but you can make it an obligation and tell people, be married and don't have sex. Like Jesus said, in heaven there will be no sex. He said there will be no marriage. Because sex, according to me, is marriage. When you have sex, you're married. Consummation. There is no marriage sex. And you can remove sex, marriage out of sex, meaning people can have sex even if they are not legally married. But if the moment you're legally married and you've not had sex, in the law you're considered not married. So this is what this sect did. They were married, but they were encouraged not to have sex. Then you have the Skoptsis. Skoptsis were a radical sect of the Russian Orthodox Church that practiced castration and amputation of sexual organs. The Skoptis believed that Christ had been castrated during his crucifixion, and it was this castration that brought about salvation. Now, let's pause and talk about the Skoptis. Now, castration, as you all know, involves the removal of the male testes. the testicles, or sometimes even the whole dick, the whole the whole. The, re- the reason for that removal is the reason for that removal that when a man is sexually active, it is his package that stores a lot of because the erection happens due to those testicles being involved in the process. When you castrate, like let's say you castrate the male organs, there may be erection but no release of sperms. There may be erection but no release of sperms. And there are very many forms of castration these days. There's what you call chemical castration. They killed, Alan Turing, our gay hero, was castrated chemically. And didn't erect because of the castration. He committed suicide because he felt so bad that he was not able to enjoy himself. He knew he was not going to enjoy himself. And it's so good, we thank God that the Queen asked for pardon from Alan, because the Alan Turing was castrated for being a homosexual. And of course, we'll also talk about castration one day, because there are very many forms of castration these days. There's what you call a chemical castration, as you said. There's a physical castration. Of course, you can even have spiritual castration. My God, you can have any form of castration. Mental castration, everything. Just put all the all the adjectives to that. But these guys believed Christ was castrated. Are you seeing again? There's a trend. You can believe anything. You can even believe Christ was because now if they believe Christ was castrated, was he physically castrated? Was he chemically castrated? You can even say Christ was fucked. There are very many beliefs you can say. Religion is so diverse and so pluralistic in thinking. Anything can be anything. And you formed a church, and all you need is just people to follow you. That's all. That's why these days I'm just an observer. I just look at, what's the latest religion out there? Because you can say anything. You can even say Christ at the time of crucifixion was what else could we say? We could say, I haven't got any idea to put there, but this is a very interesting thing. The Scoptists believed, but they did this. They believed in amputating their sexual organs. So these guys, Russian Orthodox Church, because every church has a sect, every religion has a sect, and when we're doing this in our religious and philosophical channel, Queering Theology, we're going to look at these sects. Now, let's go on. Boston Corbett who was involved in killing John Wilkes Booth. Do you remember John Wilkes Booth? Castrated himself after being tempted by prostitutes. So, if I can remember John Wilkes Booth, this is the man who I think shot the American president, Abraham Lincoln. And so Boston Corbett who was involved in killing John Wilkes Booth, castrated himself after being mocked and tempted by prostitutes. Yeah. Have you ever gone to the street and prostitutes make catcalls? Yeah, they do that. They do that a lot. And they could say, hey, come over. And so I think when they met Boston Corbett and they told him, and they started saying, hey, come over, he got so scared and so angry. And the prostitutes maybe made fun of him and said, you don't even want to try anything, go. And so he just He decided, this is suffering of the highest kind, and I'll have to release myself. And he castrated himself to avoid the temptation by the prostitutes. Then we go to Anne Lee. She was the founder of the Shakers, a radical Protestant sect. Are you seeing again? All you do is just create sects. Just create. And that opposed procreation and all sexual activity. I'm telling you, talk about being anti-sexual. This lady rocked the Protestant movement. She opposed procreation and all sexual activity. And the Shakers were more opposed to pregnancy than anything else. Are you seeing? They didn't like pregnancy. They didn't believe it. And they have their reasons. Yes, they do have their reasons. I'm saying this because the Shakers, I've read a little about them, and they are a very interesting church. They believe in the duality of God, that God is both a father and a mother, which is true. So what happened is, why we need to find out why they opposed pregnancy, and these are the reasons why you can have an abortion movement, a religious abortion movement. As you said, abortion is not bad. Yes, to me it's not bad. It's better to remove a fetus than to kill an infant. Yes, imagine an infant is born and then you kill him because he's intersex or he has a problem with his sexual organs. Then you kill him. That is wrong. But at least when you abort a fetus, you don't know who it is. And even if you know, it has not yet formed into being. That's why I am pro-abortion. And because, again, based on reasons, not just to abort all the time. I mean, people should ask themselves, do ladies really want to just abort every time? No. And this has happened already in Argentina. They have refused to allow abortion. And it's because it's a Catholic church. I mean, it's a Catholic country. The Catholic Church has a place. Ireland is also a Catholic nation, but they have allowed abortion. Why? Because they had an experience. Something happened. The Indian lady when they did a scan on her body, they found she was going to have a complication. And the husband requested an abortion be done. And the hospital said, we cannot do an abortion because it's illegal. And they said, you just have to wait when you give birth. We hope the pregnancy, the delivery goes well. Well, guess what? It didn't go well. She died. Her and the baby. And so this sparked a revolution in Ireland. And Ireland just said, we've had enough. Abortion should be legalized, whether we are Catholic or not. So you see, Argentina didn't have that experience that Ireland had. So that's why they are still not pro-abortion. But believe you me, if they had an experience that Ireland had, they would accept it. And for me, I would be, if I was Argentina, I would look at why did Ireland allow it to happen? Ireland allowed it to happen because the woman can have complications so bad that it can kill her. You see, it can kill her. Why lose a lady over something you've already known is going to happen? You're seeing it and you just want it to happen. So anyway, that is my view of the Shakers. I'm just happy to know the Shakers. I'm shocked to know the Shakers oppose procreation and they oppose pregnancy. Interesting. Let's go on. Father Divine, founder of the International Peace Mission Movement, advocated religious abstinence from sex and marriage and taught that sexual objectification is a root cause of undesirable social and political conditions. So you see, there are a lot of antisexuals in the world. Father Divine, he's promoting abstinence and he's saying no more sexual objectification, where people praise the body. You see, when you see women dancing naked or even men dancing naked, you are creating sexual objectification. And to him, this caused problems in society. So there's some people, their movements, when you are homophobic, you will blame homosexuality for everything in the society. When you're antisexual, you will blame heterosexuality and homosexuality for the problems in the world. When you are anti-something, you will blame that thing. You will say like antisexuals blame sex. They will say sex is a problem. It's making things bad. It's making things so ugly. I mean, we are not able to do things, and that's what an antisexualist is. And the same as a homophobe. A homophobe says, oh, it's the homosexuals who are causing problems. Oh, it is these people who are doing things. They're the ones who are bad. And then you'll find another person who will say, oh, it is the black people. These black people are the ones causing problems in the country. And then the other will say, oh, it's the white people. The white people are causing problems. So when you are anti-something, the thing you are against is the thing that's causing the trouble. The thing you're fighting is the cause of problems, according to you, in your mind view. You see, that's the thing. Now let's go to anaphrodisiacs. John Harvey Kellogg, the inventor of the cornflakes variety of breakfast cereal, was opposed to all forms of sexual activity, especially masturbation. The road to Wellville satirized his life and practices. According to some sources, the early Christian theologian Origen castrated himself to avoid temptation and remain pure. Now, Kellogg, as you all know, Kellogg cornflakes, for those of you who take those cereals, he was also an anti-sexualist. And he hated masturbation. So there's a view that the cornflakes had used an ingredient. There was an ingredient they used to discourage people from being horny. So it's like there are certain foods you eat that reduce. You see, this is aphrodisiac. The opposite of aphrodisiac is aphrodisiac. Remember Brandy and her song Aphrodisiac? Yeah, now they're singing the opposite of her song. Aphrodisiac, these are foods that make you horny. And there are certain foods that when you eat, they increase your drive. And why? To make. And so they had the abstinence program to reduce that. Now let's finish up here. The Junior Antisexual League in George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984 was a group of young adult party members devoted to banning all sexual intercourse. Very nice book. I loved it. And they are saying dystopia. The dystopia. The sad, negative fantasies. I mean, negative hell. I call it these days... I call them these days there's a king, and this king allows you people to do all you want, have sex, have fun, let's go and build, let's play, everybody's free, no more war, we're just having sex, we're just doing what we want to do. That is what I call utopia for me. But for some people, dystopia. Now, dystopia is the opposite of utopia. It's it's negative, and there's no sex, no fun, banning all sexual intercourse. Remember, this includes homosexuality, and no sex work, no kissing, no hugging. So I remember in the book, too, Orwell was not so friendly to gays, so he he wrote it in he used a heterosexual. It's still love, whether sexually. You know, this, I just, yeah, to heterosexuals, why are most homophobes heterosexuals? It's weird. Because homosexuality is also love. It's so fun. I mean, I love a man's body. It's beautiful to behold a man's body. And I don't know why these people feel bad when the men are having sex with men or women are having sex with women. It's strange. We are supposed to let everybody love whatever they want to love. It's like a market. You don't force everybody to buy one thing. You let people buy what they want. Because I'm not even looking for numbers. I'm looking for get what you want. Yes, because numbers means profit. I'm not that. I'm not minded like that. My mind is, do you want a man? Go, get a man. Do you want a woman? Go, get a man. Do you want both a man and a woman? And a woman. Don't go. In 1984 book, the heterosexual couple, when they went to the woods, they had a lot of sex. They had